You're listening to Gearing Up, an everyday carry podcast, a show that's made for the community, featuring interviews with makers, creators, and members of the community, and discussions on current trends in the industry. Follow along as we talk about life, gear, hobbies, and more. And be sure to stay tuned for new episodes every week. Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Sorry about last week's absence. I took a week off, spent some time with my son, and focused on the day job. But we're back, and today we're talking to one of my favorite creators in the space, Mr. Jon Brown, the genius behind ScoopyLoops. I really hope you guys enjoy this. I had a blast talking with him and kind of picking his brain. So thank you guys for the continued support. Hope you like our talk. Peace. Hey everyone, welcome to Gearing Up. Today I'm joined by a guest, someone I'm very excited to talk to, someone to chat with. You guys have seen his work, whether it's on my page or, I mean, you're one of the 44-ish thousand followers he's got right now on Instagram, crushing it. But today I'm joined by Mr. Jon Brown, mastermind behind ScoopyLoops, the most legit lanyard beads in the business. How are you, Jon?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you having me on, Greg.
Good, yes, sir, man. I was excited. I was telling you before we hit record, like I'm super stoked to have you on. I'm excited to chat, and it's an honor having you on. So thanks for carving out some time to do it.
Absolutely, man. Anytime.
So for those that don't know, which if they're listening to this, I'm sure they do know who you are, but just a quick elevator pitch, as I call it. Like what
Right.
is ScoopyLoops? Like, what do you do with this brand? What is it? Who are you? That kind of thing.
All right. Well, it's kind of funny, man, because ScoopyLoops, when I first off, ScoopyLoops was never meant to be a brand of any sort whatsoever. I used to have an email. It was jb1163@hotmail.com, right? So it just became inundated with spam and just bullshit. So at the time, I wanted to get rid of this email. So like anybody, I think that owns a dog has a million different names for their dog. So one of the names I called my dog, for whatever reason I don't know, was ScoopyLoops. And so I changed my Hotmail to ScoopyLoops@hotmail.com. And then at the time, I was big into Xbox. So I was a ScoopyLoops Xbox. That was my name on Xbox. And then I was big into Twitter, probably, I don't even know, man, probably like 2007, 2008. So I'm sure if you really dug back, it's probably embarrassing. I don't even know what all I said on there, but I was at ScoopyLoops on Twitter. And then when I hopped on Instagram in 2014, I was actually at PoopyLoops when I first got on there, because there was some account that had ScoopyLoops, and there was no post, nothing. So I went with PoopyLoops. And so it's funny, when I first made a lanyard bead at all, which would have been, I don't even know, probably August, September of 2014, I was ScoopyLoops. So ScoopyLoops could have very easily been PoopyLoops. Very easily. So anyway, yeah, dude. So ScoopyLoops was just a username that I used, and and it's kind of crazy, man. So I started making beads, just for fun, because there's a lot to it, but that's kind of when I started discovering knives. But yeah, man, ScoopyLoops. So it's, I make the beads, I do bottle openers, I've done coins. But I mean, really at heart, I'm a collector like everybody else. I mean, that's really what got me into it. And then I just happened to have the machines and the know-how to do some machining. And so, that's kind of the quick synopsis of it.
Right on. Yeah. So, and that's something that interests me too, is your ScoopyLoops is not your main gig, right? So you've got a day job. What do you care to share a little bit about that?
Sure.
And how that background fits in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've worked at the current machine shop I'm at for 13 years, and that's actually the only place I've ever done machine work. So my wife, it's actually been my father-in-law who owns the business. He started, I believe, in 1974, and then his father-in-law owned the shop originally, and in 1999, Mike, my father-in-law, he bought the company. And then so in 2008, well, 2007, I guess, he hired me in. At the time, I was a courier. I was doing this night route courier stuff.
Uh-huh.
Um, you know, it was good money for at the time for a like a 26-year-old, but it wasn't something you want to do long term. So he approached me about maybe working at the shop. I knew absolutely nothing. I knew what a mill and a lathe were, but
Right.
but I had no idea what went on there. So basically, I apprenticed at the machine shop. So I machined in the shop for 11 years. I've been there 13 years. So I was a machinist for 11 years, and I'm still a machinist, but my
Uh-huh.
day to day job at this point is I've kind of moved out of machining in our shop, and now I'm kind of up in the office. And well, not kind of in the office, I'm in the office, but I just
Right.
basically do all the day to day business stuff. And it's kind of like a transition right now.
Yeah.
My father-in-law still works there, and he's there every day, but he's doing a little more hands-off on the business side. So these days I'm doing a lot of quoting, a lot of confirming purchase
Sure.
orders, all that kind of good stuff. And so yeah, so that's kind of where I learned how to machine. When I came in, I knew nothing.
Right.
And just do like anything, you do it enough, you get pretty good at it.
Absolutely. So like what on a normal day? I mean, like, what kind of parts and stuff do you guys machine there at the shop? That obviously you've got this
Sure.
machinery and all that stuff and equipment. What kind
Right.
of equipment are you guys working with?
So we've got if anyone that knows anything about CNC equipment, we're very all our lathes are Mazak brand. So we
Okay.
are Mazak heavy. We've got 3 Haas mills, and we're primarily we're in the pump industry, and by
Okay.
that it really wasn't by design. It was just kind of what we fell into. But so we do a lot of fire pump stuff, and by fire pump, a sprinkler system in a building. It's got to be the
Sure.
water that's pushed through the sprinkler has to be, powered by a pump. So
Sure.
we make a lot of the components that go in these pumps. We do a lot of, there's mobile drilling rigs that exist. And I mean, we're at our core, we're still a job shop. So, anybody can walk in off the street and, we'll entertain doing a job, but we have like 4 companies that we do most of our work for. But
Hmm.
yeah, we're basically doing components for fire pumps, sprinkler systems, and all the way to industrial pumps. You got a flooded basement, you got to pump the
Yeah.
water, that kind of stuff. So it's nothing super exciting, but it's work.
No,
It's
but it's
honest
to
work.
me it's cool to know the connection behind, and you're not the first person I've talked to where, you've got a day job that
Yeah,
has some really heavy ties into how you spend time in the community. So it's cool to hear
absolutely.
that. It's cool to learn that. So
Yeah.
so you've got this job as a machinist, you're learning, you're honing in those skills, and you're all the while you're a knife collector. Or when did like the everyday carry stuff start for you?
The everyday carry stuff for me started. Um, so how would I want so for the longest time, I don't know if you ever owned a BlackBerry or not, but I was
Yeah.
BlackBerry guy. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I
Yeah.
needed the physical keyboard. I'm not getting rid of my BlackBerry. And
Right.
so I was on vacation 2014, and I dropped my BlackBerry on the tile floor in the condo we were staying in.
Ouch.
So and at that time I was glued to Twitter. All right. So I broke my phone, and the screen wouldn't work at all. So I was like, I gotta have a phone. I gotta have my Twitter, man. I gotta have it. So my wife and I, we go to a T-Mobile store and we get new phones. And I decided to retire the BlackBerry, and I picked up a Galaxy. All right.
Uh-huh.
So I get back to the condo, like any phone, you play around. Well, I was excited to be able to get on Instagram because the platform didn't exist on BlackBerry. So,
Right.
it was Android or iPhone. So one of the first things I did was actually download the Instagram app. So this would have been July of 2014.
Uh-huh.
And so I got on there and played around. And then I don't remember how it worked at the time. I'm going to guess there had to be a tie between like Facebook friends and it suggesting people. And so I got on there, and one of the people it suggested was Joe Bowman, which I'm sure a lot of people know as Joe at Joe Bananas on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I've known Joe, man, for like shit, man, I don't even know, like 27 or 28 years. Probably.
Wow.
We went to elementary school together. Like
Wow.
I've known him a long time. So
Man.
at the time, um, being in a machine shop, I think everybody, growing up, their dad or whoever, whatever male figure was around, it's like everybody had a knife. I remember my
Right.
dad always having a pocket knife on him. So, you know, as I got into the machine shop, I was just cutting a lot of stuff open, boxes, steel comes wrapped in plastic. So I always had a knife on me. And I remember like in 2012 or 13, I remember getting a Kershaw leak and it was like, dude, that spring assistant
That's the
open,
gateway knife for
right?
everyone, it seems.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, that thing was just badass. Like, oh, that's
Yeah.
showing everybody. So anyway, I get on there, I find Joe. Oh, I was like, oh, Joe. And so I follow him, and his whole account is knives. And I'm just like, kind of lurking in the background for the longest time, just kind of like checking out his stuff. And following
Yeah.
him led me to finding other knife people. And so I became pretty fascinated with all these custom knives and even like the production stuff I was seeing. I was like, dude, these are badass. Like, where do you get these at? And
Yeah.
so after, months had passed, a lot of interaction between me and Joe, he was like, hey, man, let me give you a call sometime. So I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, man, it'd be good to catch up. So he calls, we talk. And dude, that was like that. I fell down the rabbit hole so
So it
hard and so
began.
quick. And I'm kind of dude, I have a majorly like addictive personality. And when I decide I like something, I go full on. There's like, I'm in. So I started getting into the knives and, started Spyderco's and stuff like that. And then after seeing all this custom stuff, dude, I went like full head on dive, Pete Rose style, straight into like custom stuff. Cause
Man.
like I said, man, it's just like, I was like, I gotta have this stuff. How do I get
Yeah.
this stuff? And then it was like, and I think too, it's like everybody that gets into collecting first, it's like the bigger the knife, the better. I think everybody
Right.
does that.
Everybody goes through that phase.
Yeah. So, so I got on there and then so a few months in, it was actually Joe had a bead on a knife, and being a machinist, I could tell that somebody had made that. It didn't look like something that was production or anything like that. So
Right.
I just happened to ask him. I was like, "What's up with the bead?" I was like, "I don't really get it, but that seems cool. I like that that's on there." So that was a bead by Brad Blunt of JBB Knives.
Yeah.
And so I'm asking about it. That's cool. I'm like, well, how do you get that? Like, where do I buy that at? He's like, then he starts explaining, like, you can't just buy them. They're not something you just buy on the internet. So he starts explaining it to me. I'm like, well, how much did that cost you? And he's like, I don't know what it was from him. And he's like, I bought it from somebody else. I think I paid like $180 for it. I'm like, what? Like for a bead? I was like, really? And at the
Same
time,
reaction everyone has the first time they hear
dude,
something like that. Yeah.
for real. I'm just like, that's freaking nuts. I was like, why would you pay that much for a bead? That's insane. Like, that's just stupid, man. And so, it was whatever. And that was the initial conversation as far as like beads go. And as time went on, I was talking to Joe one time. I was like, man, I think I want to like try to make a bead. He's like, can you make a bead? And he didn't even know I machined at the time. We really hadn't talked about any of that. And so, we started talking. I was like, yeah, man, I think I'm just going to like, I just don't want to pay $180 for a bead. I'm just going to make my own. And so it's kind of weird, man. Like, so when I did that, I still have a bunch of beads like that I tried to make in the beginning. And dude, they're some hideous creations that came out. And, but I have them all. And then I finally kind of had anyone that like follows me enough to kind of know that regular style that I always do. I did something similar to that. And, Joe might have been being nice at the time. I don't know, but he built me up enough where I was like, it seemed like a really good idea. He's like, you should make some. And I'm like, all right. So at the time he was good friends. I don't know if you know, like the Wieners and Steel guys. He was good friends with those guys. And there were some other, just other people in the knife community he was friends with. So I actually gave some to Joe to keep. I was like, dude, give some away to your buddies, like whatever.
Oh,
and
man.
Dude, at the time, honestly, I feel like the whole thing that I did, I think I had a good idea, but I think I also got lucky and came in at a time like on Instagram. At the time, no one was selling anything like that on Instagram.
Right.
And it's not like I made it and like, I was like selling out and selling them like crazy. I remember the first time I made anything. I mean, I would get a sell. I'd be able to sell one like here or there just because somebody would DM me or something. But
Yeah.
it's not like it just took off. It wasn't until like 2015 where I actually did a website. I did Etsy originally. I had stuff on Etsy, and I
Uh-huh.
did a little website drop, and it sold out in like a minute, dude. And I was like, mind
Okay.
blown, mind blown. I was
Yeah.
like, that's crazy. But yeah, man, I just that all of 2014, I don't really think I made much of anything as far as money goes. I was just spending money to try to like get something out once I noticed there was some interest in it.
Yeah.
What it turned into, yeah, it still blows my mind. Like,
Yeah. I mean, you've in 6 years, right? 6 years,
yeah, 6 years.
you have gone from random one-offs and Etsy drops to continuously. I mean, if I go to ScoopyLoops.com right now, it's literally every listing is sold out. And so that's one thing that I did want to talk about is this idea of the drop, right? And
Right,
so that's one thing that's always really intrigued me about you and your work. And you are not the only one that does this. And it kind of sounded like you were referencing it earlier with when Joe said something, this is not one you just buy. It's not just. I remember. I think
right,
Coke was like the first person that I found out where I was like, "What? I can't just go hit add to cart, right?" And
right.
it like blew my mind. And so, and I think that there's obviously a combination of things where, uh, right place, right time. That
Yes,
kind of market didn't really exist, and that's something that you have kind of kept up with over time, and you've definitely gotten creative here and there with random little Facebook group drops or whatever. But
right.
the drop, was that always your intention to just have drops here and there, or
No,
at
no.
some point were you thinking I'm going to have a steady supply all the time, or what? I mean, walk me through that part of the business.
Well, first off, it's funny you mentioned Justin Coke because Justin was actually the very first person to ever reach out to me besides Joe and ask me about beads. So I've known
Dang.
Justin since I started this, and
Yeah.
no, man, that was never my plan. And honestly, I still don't really have like a concrete plan. The
Yeah.
drops, website drops, like originally I just had them on my Instagram, and hey, if you want one, hit me up.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, around 2015 the demand, I just was getting messages left and right at the time, and it was just I was like I was overwhelmed. Honestly, it's just like
Sure.
I was humbled, overwhelmed. I was like I don't know what to do with this. Like so the I had done, like I said, I had done some Etsy stuff, but it was never like big website drops. I might do 25 or 30 beads, and that's really all I was making at the time was that
Hmm.
many, and I would just throw them on there. And April 2015, so like I said, I did the Etsy stuff, and I was mostly using the Etsy just mainly out of convenience, just because people could
Sure.
buy it, their shipping address, it was easy. Um, and plus, I felt like it was an easier way for people to maybe find them. I'd let people know about the heads up, and then so April 2015, that's I left that did stop doing the Etsy stuff, and then I purchased like a big cartel store, which I still use the same one to this day, and
Hmm.
so for like it was like 2.5 months, man. It was a all titanium lanyard bead drop, and I kind of built it up, letting people know I'm working on it, working on it. It literally took me 2.5 months to build up this website drop that I was going to do because I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to get 100 beads on here. That should be more than enough for anybody that's messaged me that's wanted one. And
Sure.
so I built this up and I did this website drop. There was 107 beads on it, and it sold out in like 2 minutes. And
Wow.
man, like I still to this day, like if I do a website drop and it sells out pretty quick, I'm still always, it still blows my mind. It's nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awesome that it's like that. But yeah, it was the website drop really is it's really more a convenience thing because when
Sure.
I do the machining, uh, part of the reason, like you mentioned, like if you go to the website, everything is sold out. That's not by design. It's just that. So I running this machine shop like I do, and even when I was just machining, I put in a lot of hours. So it's
Mhm.
come the weekend, a lot of times it's like I don't want to be in the machine shop.
Right.
Uh, so when I do stuff now, I might machine maybe some beads or bottle openers. I mean, beads are obviously what I'm making the most of. but I'll kind of go in with a little bit of a plan during the week. Like, okay, I'm going to machine this weekend. But when I machine, it's only on the weekends because we have
Okay.
stuff going through the week. Like, there's just not enough time for me to try to do that during the week. Because when I go in, I'll usually stay after work on a Friday and I'll tear down a machine or two machines, whatever I'm going, based on whatever it is I'm going to make. And
Uh-huh.
so I have to tear down entire setups of jobs that we're running for the actual shop, like the normal job. And
Okay.
so I'll set it up on a Friday because it takes me a good hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, just to set everything up, depending on what's going on in the shop. So
Yeah.
I'll do that. I'll machine Saturday. I'll machine Sunday, and I basically just go in and I'll go as long as I can until I'm like, okay, I've had enough. I'm out of here.
Right.
Uh, and so that has been my process for doing anything I've done as far as EDC stuff goes. Basically, since I want to say almost basically until the inception, but 2015.
Okay.
So depending on what I do, what I machine, like I just machined a bunch of micarta last weekend. So I machine them and they're mostly ready to go when I'm done machining. There is some finishing work I do. And if there's titanium, I'll do anodizing, whatever it may be. So the website drops, I will try to do some, something on Facebook. I don't do a lot on Instagram anymore as far
Yeah.
as sales go, um, which is a whole other topic entirely. There's a reason for that, and but no, I mean, there was never a plan to do a bunch of website drops or anything. It just kind of naturally led to that, just
Yeah.
over time. The demand and what I can actually produce has just never met the demand, and
Sure.
it's just kind of been what it is. What it is. I hate the saying, but it truly
Right.
is what it is. You
Yeah. No,
know.
no, no. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, you're balancing that with work, your life outside of work, and obviously, being able to use the shop and get some time in is good, but
Sure.
it's obviously, it takes a back seat sometimes. So
It
that's
does.
understandable.
It does.
So aside from EDC, knives, machining, what other hobbies do you have? What do you collect anything else? Do
Well,
you have any other hobbies?
sure. I mean, well, obviously, I collect knives.
Sure.
Like that's a big hobby for me. Just the whole knife community in general. It's kind of crazy as far as the actual hobby of collecting goes, as far as EDC stuff goes, because I think that's kind of what draws everybody in is the actual community aspect of it,
Oh, for
and
sure. Yeah.
when and it was it's like me finding Joe in the beginning. That was a familiar face, a name to me. And then it was just as you get into it. I mean, I've got people now like I'll fly out to LA to see one of my good buddies, and I've met him through knives, and it's like one of my good friends.
Sure.
And you've got all these friends all over the country. So outside, but that being said, so obviously knife collecting is a hobby of mine. I got like I mentioned before, I just naturally kind of have an addictive personality. I get tunnel vision on stuff. My
Right.
shoe collection, man, is like it's stupid. Like I actually have so I've got the ScoopyLoops Instagram. I actually have a personal page too, and I don't post on it all the time, but it's just my normal
All
life, and it's funny.
sneakers.
It was for a minute, so I was like, I'm going to during this quarantine when I started, I was like, I'm going to post a pair of shoes every day. And I was like, what will happen first? Restaurant dining rooms will open back up and people can eat in them, or I'll run out of shoes. And
Oh
it was like
man.
everybody's like, you're going to run out of
Do you
shoes,
have
and
your own
like,
shoe closet?
dude, I have an entire room that is shoes. Like I'm going to say it because it's just kind of funny, but talking about hobby. So I counted the shoes and I was like, how far can I make it posting a pair of shoes? This was I think in April. I was like, how far
Hmm.
can I make it posting a new pair of shoes every day until I run out? And I could have made it into October.
My God.
Dude, it's ridiculous. But yeah,
The
I've got
collection is real.
it's
I love
real.
it,
And
man. I
the
love it.
the the shoe addiction is real. Like it's everything. Jordans. I always loved buying when I was growing up, my dad always worked two jobs. My mom was always a stay-at-home mom. So um my dad was busting ass. He was the
Yeah.
one providing. So I have a brother, I have an older sister, and so he had the three of us. But so we were never spoiled with anything. We want something is like if you get it, you're working for it. The only thing we were so what I'm about to say, I'm blaming my parents for my shoe addiction. The only thing that me and my brother were spoiled with was like tennis shoes. So like the new pair of Jordans came out, like we got the new Jordans.
Yeah.
And so as I've gotten older and they do all these Jordan releases, I love going back and buying the Air Jordans I had when I was a kid and rebuying them as an adult. And that's kind of actually what sparked the whole shoe thing. But now it's crazy, man. I've got everything. Adidas. It's not just Jordan. It's Adidas. It's thorough good boots, man.
Yeezys.
Dude, yes, yeah, I've got Mania Yeezy.
I'm not a sneakerhead, but I understand the obsession, and I completely I get it, man. No judgment whatsoever.
Yeah,
I mean, are there any that like? Because I know the sneaker game is the same or crazier when it comes to drops and secondary and all that stuff. So like, are there any that you were like stoked to get, or any that were super hard to get, or anything like that really stick out to you?
Well, yeah, but it's nothing that it's kind of like it's like anything. That's actually a really good comparison comparing it to knives. The secondary on shoes is definitely real, and it's very much like uh, in the knife community. No, man, I strike out on everything.
Right.
It's impossible. I like there's a pair of Jordan 4s coming out. There's a like a boutique brand called Union LA. So there's this drop that's happening on August 28th, and you can bet your ass I'm trying to get these shoes. But it's funny because I think the shoes are going to retail for $220, but you can there's an app. Anyone that's into shoes probably knows what the goat app is, and it's like a secondary app for buying shoes.
Right.
So these shoes that I want to buy like $220, they're already on the Go app for like $2,200 for a pair of shoes, for a pair of sneakers. I will not be spending $2,200 on a pair of sneakers, which is funny because it's like you think about knives, and it's like like I used to, like I said, when I first got into it, like I was like, I need the customs, I need them now. You know what I mean? I needed to feed myself with these knives. And originally, man, I was like paying out the ass chasing secondary stuff because you can't get it on the primary stuff. And so it's just kind of funny. It's actually funny. I actually took delivery today of a Benchmade mini bug out. It's the first Benchmade knife I've ever owned. I've never owned one. Yeah, it's the first Benchmade.
What do you think of it?
I like it, dude. I like it. I actually bought the titanium flytanium scales.
Nice.
Because I got the Stormtrooper one looking. I don't think they call it that, but it's Stormtrooper colorway. So
right.
Yeah, but I liked all the black hardware, the black blade, and so then I'm just going to anodize these scales.
I was going to say, I'm sure you're going to throw some color on it.
Yeah, I gotta pimp it out. You know what I mean? So
love it, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of
a
funny.
Good little size. It's a nice EDC size for sure.
It is. Like I've always eyed just the normal bug out, and then I saw the mini, and it's kind of like where I've gone these days. I'm kind of more into smaller-ish knives. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I just want to try it. It's kind of funny because with all the COVID-19 and the quarantines and all that good stuff, I've just gotten to a point with collecting where I mainly like a lot of these makers that I consider them friends, and that's kind of who I collect at this point. As I collect guys that I actually know and consider friends, and so with the knife shows being out, and that's really where I've always attended shows since 2015. I try to hit at least a couple shows a year, and so with that being gone and the opportunity to buy custom pieces, it's funny. I've been buying more production stuff. Like I recently bought a Spyderco, the pair of 3, like a fully serrated pair of 3, because I wanted it for work. Just got this Benchmade. So it's funny how it's like I'm going back to buying some production stuff now. And it's actually been kind of like a breath of fresh air, to be honest. It's kind of fun buying this stuff. You're used to, even if you get a custom from somebody, and say it's $800. I mean, $800, that's a lot of money for a knife.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, no doubt.
So it's kind of been nice on the old pocketbook to buy some of this
Right.
stuff and kind of feed the need of a new knife. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
I
yeah, man,
love it,
it's
man. That's good to hear. It's good to hear that you're doing that, and it is nice to be able to go in and just click add to cart, and you see the
absolutely,
the total with shipping and everything, and you don't you know
absolutely.
almost faint from the sticker shock of it.
It is.
So
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, man.
you have worked on a ton of projects. You have worked with a ton of different makers. Um, I'm not gonna ask you to name them all, but I mean, are there any over the last 5 years or so that collaboration wise just kind of stick out, or any that were really meaningful to you?
It's kind of funny. I haven't really done a ton of collab work. Even over the years, I've done a lot of stuff, but like most recently, like 45
Right,
caliber.
right. That comes to
Like,
mind.
yeah, so that was my most recent thing, and that was fun. Just that, and I just did a little bit of milling. I've got this little pigeon logo that I've started incorporating into stuff,
Yeah.
and so it was cool to take someone else's product, put them in a machine, throw my logos on them, and refinish them and do them to my style. That was kind of fun to do. Um, but honestly, man, outside of that, I really haven't done a ton of collab work. And it's funny you say
Okay.
that, because I really don't think about it too much. And then when you say it, it's like I'm sitting here thinking, it's like, who have I done collab stuff with?
Well, and for me, I guess what I'm thinking of is like anodization, like just scrolling through your feed and seeing like Swan stuff that you've anodized, or Barrel
Yes.
Flashlight, or whatever. Anything and I guess those may not necessarily be collaborations, but just seeing your work or your flair or your style thrown onto someone else's gear is always cool to see.
Yeah.
Um,
I
and so
do
I
love.
guess I was just wondering if there was anything in particular that stuck out to you, anything that was kind of a favorite of yours. Gearing Up is sponsored by Novel Carry. If you're not familiar with them, their goal is to filter out all the noise and help you focus on getting quality gear at fair prices from really talented makers. Whether you're looking for knives, leather goods, pocket tools, beads, or anything EDC related, they've got you covered. Trust me. I've been a customer of Novel Carry in the past. I'm a huge fan of what these guys are doing, and they mean it when they say that this is EDC for the community, EDC by the community, the makers marketplace. These guys are crushing it. Be sure to go check them out. In fact, they've always got a monthly giveaway going on. Head over to novelcarry.com and enter into their monthly giveaway for a chance to win some awesome gear to step up your EDC. Again, that's novelcarry.com.
Okay, with that, absolutely. And that, it's funny because a lot of this stuff, like if you're following me on Instagram and you see a lot of that stuff, like the pull tabs,
Uh-huh.
um, usually it's just my stuff.
Right.
Just like I get it, and I'm like, all right, I want to like do something fun to this, and so I'll do that. I guess not just saying that too. I have done some collab stuff with Nick Swan, like and it wasn't
Mhm.
anything crazy. It was more him just sending me some titanium pull tabs and like, hey man, just go to town on them. But yeah, like the Burnley side pops, like that kind of stuff to me is fun to anodize because knives to me, people, and I really don't even take on much outside anodizing work because
Right.
it got to a point where it was like I had good intentions to do this and that, and it was just taking me forever to do it. And I always said, anyone that I took, I was like, if you don't mind waiting for this forever, I was like, man, I might do it in 2 days. It might be 2 years. It's not really going to be 2 years, but I was
Right.
like, as long as you have no expectation of turnaround, I'll do it. And really, I've never charged, which in hindsight it was probably dumb of me, but
Right.
usually
Right.
when I did anodize, it was for like someone that was a buddy or something. Hey man,
Sure.
we anodize. Sure, I'll anodize it, man. But yeah, stuff I don't have to take apart, like a knife, is like, I don't want to take this knife apart. I don't
Right.
want to strip these screws out, anything like that. So little gadgets and pocket tools, beads, I, all those things are fun to work on for me,
Yeah.
and especially if it's stuff that I'm into collecting, like um, the Michael Birch. I don't know if do you follow Michael Birch or know of him.
I know of him, yes.
Okay, yeah, he makes these bottle openers just called a bottle rocket, and they're simple and they look like a rocket.
Right.
I dig the design. I like doing those. He's been doing like the quarantine drinking team bottle openers and
Oh,
stuff like
nice.
that. So those have
Yeah.
been kind of fun to work on. But yeah, man, it's kind of weird too because I haven't done a ton of anodizing. Like I haven't made titanium anything for a minute,
Yeah.
which was kind of my like bread and butter for the longest time.
For
And maybe
sure.
I guess that's mainly, as my tastes have changed, and anything I'm making is kind of just what I think is cool, and then
Right.
I hope that other people think they're cool too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you just never know because I've made stuff and that I think is cool and like, oh, this is awesome, and then I'll throw it in like you're talking about like the website drops and everything will sell really quick, but then there's like that one item or two, and they've eventually sold, but like 2 hours in, there's still some left. So I was like, all right,
Right.
well, I thought it was cool, but apparently not everybody else does. So
It's just you.
there's a little bit of that, but yeah, I think as far as collab work and stuff, yeah, I would say most of the stuff I do, it's really just anodizing my own stuff
Your own
just
stuff.
for fun because it's kind of it's fun to do. So
Yeah, it's weird.
that's pretty much where
The
I'm at with
guys that
that.
are into anodizing, seem to like anodize and re-anodize and anodize. Yeah, and it seems like it's one of those things, and that's why I haven't gotten into it. Because if I got into it, it's all I would be doing for weeks on end, just like
The
any
cool
spare time I
factor,
have. Yeah,
yes, when you first learn how to do anodizing, the cool factor of changing color of metal like that is ridiculously awesome, and it's even nowadays. Uh, I'll give Ty Kirsch a little shout out.
shout out, shoot, yeah,
Yeah, shoot, yeah, designs because
that's what's
man,
up.
I've seen like I've had a lot. I've always been an open book, so I've had over the years, man. I can't even tell you how many people have asked, "Hey, like, what do I need for anodizing?" They'll show me what they've got going on, their setup,
Yeah,
and I've always been more than happy to help somebody out. And so I don't know how many times I've recorded my ano setup and my process to people, and I don't think I ever did that with Ty, but shout out to Ty because dude, he took the ano and ran with it, and
he's
anyone
crushing it.
dude, he is crushing it and he's doing awesome work. So anyone that usually hits me up for ano, it's like I'm not really taking on any ano, but hit up Ty Kirsch because he does a ridiculously awesome job.
Huge shout out.
Dude,
Uh,
he's
no,
killing it with the ano.
Ty's a Texas boy. He and I have
Yes,
met up for
yes.
lunch before, and so I do know Ty as well. And yeah, I
Awesome.
mean, I remember when he first told me he was getting into it. It was one of those things where I was like, "This is gonna be cool to see." What do you say to someone? It's like, "I'm gonna start doing." Okay, cool.
Cool.
I
Right.
just want
Right
to
on.
see it, right? But yeah, I mean, just obviously there's sort of this entry level of learning those different colors, but there is an art to it in learning like layering and masking. And I mean, in a very short time he has just absolutely
Yes.
blown it out of the water. I mean, it's
With
insane. It's
with the
absolutely insane.
with the ano, man, it's like when I first started doing anodizing, it's funny when I first got into all the EDC stuff. So 2014, one of the first things I really saw, like besides the JBB bead, one of the gadgets I just was like inundated with and thought it was so cool was the key bar.
Yep.
Um, and I'm sure a ton of people know what a key bar is. And it's funny because I bought so many key bars in 2014. It's ridiculous. And the first titanium beads I ever made, I actually hit up Mike Taylor of Key Bar and
Hmm.
sent him a video. And I was like, hey, man, you think you'd anodize these for me? And so he's like, you made these? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, bro, I got to call. Let me call. Can I call you? I got to call you. So he calls me and we talk on the phone and he's like, bro, like what? You made these, man? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, hell yeah, man, send them my way. So I sent those to Mike Taylor. The first like several batches I ever did that were
Uh-huh.
anodized titanium, they were always anodized by Mike Taylor of Key Bar. And after a while, he was like, man, if you're gonna keep doing this, he's like, I can show you how to do this. And I was like, all right, I mean, cool. So he kind of gave me a list of stuff I needed. He's like,
Yeah.
buy all this stuff. This is what you need to do good ano. Buy all that. Holler at me when you get it. So I'm like, all right.
Right.
So I buy all this stuff and I buy a power supply, multi etch, all this stuff. And at that point, I had read a lot online, so I rigged up this like hillbilly Anno setup, and so I get it all going, and like I'm trying it, and I can't get the bright colors like I see that he always has.
Uh-huh.
So I hit him up. I'm like, all right, man, I got it. I tried to do this on my own, and does not look good. What am I doing wrong? So I send him. He has me send him this video, and he just texts me back, LOL, call me when you're available. So I call him and he's like, dude, you're doing everything I did. I was set up in my kitchen with like a hot plate and doing all this crazy stuff. So he's like, dude, I'm going to take you to pro school and make you good at anodizing. I'm like, okay. So I spent, I'm sitting there on a video call with him back in like 2000. Yeah, I guess it was the end of 2014, beginning of 2015, something like that. And he shows me how to do all this stuff. And so it was like after that, I was like instantly good at Nano. And then anything then the more you do it, you start figuring out little tricks you can do and this and that. But dude, Mike Taylor was props to him too, man. Shout out to Mike Taylor.
Yeah.
He played such a pivotal role in helping me out in the beginning of doing all that. And at the time, Mike was doing this Anno for me. And so he would post stuff on his Keybar account. And at the time, his Instagram, I don't remember what it was, man, but it was like 20, 25,000 people. And to me, I was like, holy shit, like that is so many people. And that's the thing with Instagram. At the time, that was before algorithms and everything was just chronological. And so my account with him posting those beads, dude, it was insane. Like anytime he would make a post, I would be gaining hundreds and hundreds of followers every time he would make a post. And so my account from Mike Taylor posting this stuff, like before I knew it, man, I was like at like 5,000 followers. Like this is insane. And it just kind of grew organically. And it was just the more I did, it seemed like the more people were seeing this stuff, and the followers just kept coming and kept coming. And then dude, if you're not a half naked female influencer right now, and props to those that aren't half naked. I don't want to say, I don't want to say the wrong thing, because I feel like you got to be careful with everything you say these days. But
you got to be PC, man.
Dude, but PC. But hey, the female body sells. Let's be real.
Oh no joke.
Following. And and that's not all it is. But dude, it is so hard. To me, it seems like it is, anyways.
Yeah.
To grow a brand right now,
to really break through, it's I mean, it's almost impossible.
Since 2016, it's funny. I know I have like 42 or 43,000 followers. I had in 2016, I was like at 44,000. My account has done nothing but drop a little bit since 2016. I've gained no followers.
Wow.
And it's crazy. And Instagram is weird like that. It's odd. I honestly can't explain it.
You'll just kind of float.
It is. It's odd. So I like Instagram, and obviously I still post on it. I used to like post every single day on Instagram. Like I'm looking at my phone. Like I have almost 3,700 posts on Instagram.
Right.
And like now I might post once or twice a week. But it's kind of funny because you look at the follower count and the engagement that was there pre-algorithms versus now. It's like, dude, it's not even a comparison. And it's kind of why I use my Facebook group more, just because the engagement's there. I feel like more people see it.
Absolutely.
And it's a weird thing like that. So if you're able to build a brand on Instagram, especially being something EDC related in I'm gonna say 2020, but really 2019, 18, 17.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, because you're doing something right. It's weird. Just, and personally, from my own personal standpoint, I wish that Instagram would give you the option to either have an algorithm or have a true chronological order.
Right.
Because
there's
that's
a ton of people that want that. Yeah. I mean, absolutely.
It sucks because like I'm not even as engaged with the people I follow, and because I'll get on Instagram, just during the day and check it out. And, I'll go through, I'll make some comments on stuff, like some things, and then I'll get back to work or whatever it is I'm doing. And it drives me absolutely nuts when I hop back on 6 hours later and I'm seeing the same things I just
Same
saw,
exact stuff. Yeah.
and I lose interest. And I
Yeah.
think that's kind of the thing with like what I'm talking about from my own personal experience. I think just the engagement's down because I don't want to see something from 3 days ago, and I don't want to see what I've already seen 5 times today.
Oh, it's the worst when I see like a maker that I'm following and it's like a one off or a random sale and I'm like, "Oh my god, this is my chance." And I look at the timestamp and it's 2 days ago and I'm like, "What the hell?
dude,
Like is this
dude.
real? Come on."
This
Or they're like,
literally,
"This is going live on the website in 45 minutes," and the post is 7 hours old. I'm like, "What?
Greg,
This doesn't make any sense."
this literally just happened to me yesterday. What you
Oh
just
god.
said.
Oh god.
All right, so check it. Um, so like I said, I've always been into spider codes. I just like the Spidey hole. I like
Yeah.
you can flick it, do whatever.
Oh
I
no.
think they're
Oh
cool.
no.
I
Is it a
think the
wreck? Is it?
designs.
Oh god. Is it a wreck?
What's that?
Was it one of the wrecks?
No, 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 no,
Okay.
no.
Anyways, go ahead.
No. So no. Where I was going, I was saying. So I've always for I don't know a couple years, anyways. Like I've always liked the Casey Lynch pocket clips that he does on them.
Yeah.
Right. So I've always bought the Lynch Northwest pocket clips. Well, more recently, kind of like everything else, like not going to shows. I guess I'm seeing more stuff on the internet, and I've always been aware of like the Casey Lynch pry bars. And recently, I was like, man, I really want one of these. And it's like I always go to the website, they're sold out, they're sold out, they're sold out. And I try not to chase too much on the secondary. And I realize it's just a a pry bar. But at the end of the day, it's like I want the money to go to Casey. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
And
for sure.
so I saw a post like 3 days ago or 2 days ago, I guess, that Casey had made a post on there, and he was restocking all the pry bars, and I was like, hell yeah! I was like, dude, I am on it. I set a reminder on my phone, 4 p.m. Pacific time, so 1 p.m. my time. I went on there yesterday at 1 p.m. my time, and nothing was on there. I was refreshing. I'm like, what the hell? So I go back to Casey's post, and I realized the post that I saw was like a day old from the day I had seen. So the drop had been the day before. I was like, you gotta be shitting me.
That's the worst.
And it's funny. So like, so at that point I was over. I was like, I need to get one of these. So, I actually went into my Facebook group and made a post yesterday, and I was actually able to get the 2.5 and the 1.5 access pry bars. I traded with a couple people, so it was all good. But it's funny. Tom Medvedich texted me, Notorious EDC.
Love Tom.
Yeah, dude, Tom's the best. So he texted me and he's like, dude, I will just hit up Casey. It's as easy as that. Him. Yeah. And I'm like, at that point, I was like, well, I've already made a trade. So I said, that would be bad form. I'm good. But I was like, if you and Casey, and I know him and Casey are kind of boys. I know they talk. So I was like, all right, noted. Next time, if I'll go the website route. If I strike out, I will hit you up. And that's funny. He just texted me, Tom, because I had sent him some beads. I'd done some trading with Tom. So he got his beads. That's good because he was saying his mail was sucking lately. Yeah, Tom's a shit. I love Tom. Great guy.
Yeah, he's been on the show before. He's always a treat to talk to for sure.
Yeah, I actually listened to that one, the your podcast with him.
Yeah, so
yeah, I listened to that.
We've mentioned it a few times, and I wanted to bring it up, and I wanted to get your input, and I've kind of already gotten it just in what we've talked about, but the secondary market, and more specifically the secondary market on your products. Obviously, I'm sure that's a little weird to see that's it gains this popularity, they sell out immediately, and so I just want not necessarily your obviously it exists, but just your thoughts on it. I mean, how do you feel about the secondary market on your products? And like, obviously they don't always go for drop prices. Sometimes they do, but the secondary in any hobby is there's some kind of markup. So, I mean, I just wanted to get your input on that and your thoughts.
I was going to say, as much as I hate the statement, but obviously I don't hate the statement that much because I've now said it is what it is twice now. So it kind of is what it is. I mean, honestly, I think that's with anything that people collect, whether it be, watches, shoes, knives, beads, whatever it is. I mean, there's people that I think go in to buy stuff because they think they can make a little bit of money on the flip. And
Right.
ultimately, for me, I would rather somebody buy my stuff that wants to keep it and enjoy it. But
Sure.
that being said, I'm not mad at it, and really the secondary on, a bead, a bottle openers, like in 2020, it's really not that inflated. Some of the stuff
Sure.
is like, and it's kind of weird where that goes because, like you might see something I sold. Most of the stuff, I'm going to say most of the beads I sell range between maybe 50 and $70. And that's kind of where I've always priced them. But I think nowadays, like a titanium bead, I sell it for, it's like 72, basically $72 ship. So $65 plus
Right.
shipping. And that might sell for around $100, which isn't too crazy of a markup. But
Sure.
um,
Not when you
eh,
factor in fees and shipping and all that stuff. I mean,
sure,
that to me isn't that crazy.
exactly. And so, as far as secondary goes, it just I'm not mad at it. And honestly, I think it's healthy for a maker to have a secondary market because if it's
Sure.
like if I'm selling something for $60 and then someone's trying to sell it for $70 and they're dropping it to my price and they still can't sell it, well, then to me that says that that product is overpriced at that
Yeah.
point. And I'm not even going to say there hasn't been stuff that I've sold and people have bought and it's like they're trying to sell it and it's like nobody wants it. And it is what it is. And it's like it's funny because I've seen the things that blow me away is like I think everybody has seen like the shredded money composite stuff at this point,
Glow
over
money.
the years, like the shredded
Yeah.
money. So I've made beads out of shredded money. And that material, I mean, it's just like a resin, like a polycarbonate
Yeah.
that has shredded money that you can buy from the Federal Reserve. And those beads, like I think I sold them for like $60. And the material, I mean, relatively inexpensive. Like I can't even remember who I bought it from, to be
Right.
honest. It's been a few years, but it's like I buy this material, say it was like $50, and I sold them. I might get like 3 or 4 beads out of the bar that I had, and I'm selling them for $60. But I've seen them resell for like $300,
Yep.
and even more recently, and it's
Oh
like,
yeah.
damn boys, it's like that's
Calm down.
awesome. But at the same time, it's kind of like this. It's just one of those things too, because to me, like they're cool, and like when I did them, that was like I feel like that was kind of when everyone first started using shredded money stuff. And
Yeah.
so years have passed and it's like those still sell for a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah.
And they're really some of the more inexpensive, one of the more inexpensive materials. So sometimes for me to see stuff like that, it's hard for me to like, I feel like I have a pretty good pulse of like the knife community and what people are
Sure.
into. And it kind of goes back to what I said. Like I typically make what I'm into, and hope that other people like it. But you see stuff and you see what other guys are into, and I kind of try to cater to that too. I don't want to make a bunch of
Sure.
stuff that nobody wants, but yeah, as far as the secondary, I think it just kind of is what it is. I think it's part of
Yeah.
any collecting thing, and honestly, as far as any maker goes, no matter what it is knives, pocket trinkets. I think it's good to have a healthy secondary.
Yeah. For sure.
I don't want to see people getting just. I mean, I guess it goes back to something's only worth what someone will pay, and
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
that's true. But at the same time, it's like it sucks for me to make something and I sell it at my price, and then you know, sh- props to the person that can make. If someone can make $100, $200 on something, you know, more power
Right.
to you. But at the same time, I'm like, man, I wish someone could have just bought it that would have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And and if they sell it down the road, but you see people, you drop stuff and then within 2 days of getting it, it's for sale, and
Yeah.
it doesn't really bother me. It's just kind of the nature of it, I think,
Yeah.
as far as the EDC world goes.
Well, and this isn't the case with your products, but I mean, there have been some makers that I see, whether it's their products or their collaborations, or some knife makers that have done like production runs of stuff that they get scooped up. Nope, nope. Obviously, no pun intended there, but they get grabbed really quickly
Right.
and then sold on the secondary. they'll go on the secondary for a stupid amount. Or what I think is more hurtful to the brand and hurtful to the maker is they start going on raffles, and now you've taken this $2 or $3 or $4 or $5 or $800 note, whatever it is, and you've turned it into $60 a spot. And to me, I just feel
Yes.
like that erodes the value even further.
Yes.
And obviously, what stuff is worth, what table price is, but if I spent $60 on a raffle spot and got $1,000 knife, like, I'm okay selling it at $600, right? And so to
Right.
me, I always worry about that kind of stuff. So like I said, fortunately, it doesn't seem to happen with your stuff, but just an observation on the secondary from what I've seen.
Yeah, and obviously to build on what you just said, and that, like, if you went back deep into my Instagram, you would
Uh
see
huh.
where, years ago I had done auctions on stuff. I've
Sure.
never done raffles on anything, but
Right.
I had done auctions. And honestly, as I've been in the knife community more and that I've continued to make stuff, like, you're rarely, if ever, gonna see me do an auction on anything.
Yeah.
I'm kind of where, if it's a knife maker and it's a knife and it's some cool exotic build, I get yours. That's what I say. Get yours. But for me personally, I just want to set a price and that I think's fair to me, that I
Yeah.
think's fair to whoever wants to buy it, and then call it a day.
Be done. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate to, like, try to chase money in an auction. It's like ultimate cringe for me.
Yeah. No. No.
Like, I don't want to chase max profit. I just want to set a price, and it is, if it sells at that, cool. If it doesn't, that's fine too.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, all the stuff I'm doing, like, the whole ScoopyLoops thing. It definitely has turned into an awesome side hustle for me. I mean, don't get it twisted. It's been an awesome side hustle, and it's turned into something I never would have thought it would have turned into.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, for me personally, I don't rely on doing ScoopyLoop stuff really for anything,
Sure.
and it's something I still enjoy doing. And it's part of the reason why you don't see me just constantly cranking stuff out, trying
Sure.
to, like, sell as much as I can, because then
Keeps
at
it
that point,
fresh.
yes, and it's just, I think at that point when it starts becoming an actual, like, seems like an actual job, that's when I think I would stop doing stuff, and
Yeah.
it wouldn't be fun anymore. But I think, once again, I think the knife being in the knife community, not just like, because it's like, I guess a lot of people might look at me as a maker. I've never really looked at myself like that. Like,
Sure.
sure, I make stuff, but I'm collecting knives, and I don't look at myself on that level. And I'm sure I'm making beads, pocket trinkets, and obviously they're selling, and and I have built a brand on it. But at the end of the day, it's really just being in the knife community and the camaraderie that exists that really keeps me in it. I think if somehow I lost that and I just was like, I'm not really into knives anymore, I'm not real sure that I would keep doing it, to be honest. I don't think I would be doing it just chasing it to make
Yeah.
make some money on it. I think if I fell out of the knife collecting hobby, I think I would fall out of making that stuff. So it's just always been something fun for me to do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those things. I get people who will kind of, like, discover me, like, all the time. I'll get, like, a DM, somebody that's not all the time, but I'll get a DM here and there. Somebody that just discovered me, and it's funny. I have, like, a copy and paste response on my phone because it's
Right.
so long winded to try to explain it to someone who's new to EDC,
Right.
and so it's like I've got a generic answer for it. But yeah, man, it's just, it's kind of, secondary is what it is, and then as far as everything else, it's just, I just kind of organically do things as I'm feeling it, and or not feeling it. I mean, I've
Right.
gone on hiatuses before where I haven't had anything available for maybe 2 or 3 months, and it was just like,
Right.
I mean, I don't know, guys. I'm still here. I'm still posting in the knife groups and stuff. I'm still here. I just haven't felt like making anything. I've
Yeah.
been busy, either with work or something else going on. Um,
Sure.
so it's just always stayed fun, and hopefully it it stays like that.
Yeah, I mean, I love that, and I did a show with Daigle Knives. He's a maker, pretty small maker, down here
He's
in
in
Houston.
Teen Tech. I was just saying, I I don't know his work. I'd recognize the name. I was going to say that's Texas, I think, right?
Yeah, so he was big on the forums a long time ago, and he and I have kind of joked back and forth. We finally, got a chance to do one of these, and he gave me a really great perspective on it, because for me, I see so many makers, and obviously I do the podcast. Like I'm not gonna lie, if somebody came to me tomorrow and said, "Hey, you can do this full time," I think I'd probably give it a shot, right? But
Right.
he gave me a really great perspective, and he was like, "There's a reason I don't keep like a traditional set of books or whatever." He was like, "I don't want to have to make the same knife 15 times because then it isn't what I wanted it to be."
Yes.
And he's got a day job and he like that he loves, and so that to me was just a great takeaway from that, where it really is a lot of the community and the fun and the sweat and the work that he puts into it is really about doing it and having fun with it and not
Yes.
chasing money. And so that's refreshing to hear, man, that's sort of a
Yeah.
shared
And
thing across a bunch of makers.
it's kind of funny like that too. You're talking about him making knives, and it is you. It's funny, like because over the years, I've been able to get on knife makers books here and there, and it's funny because when that time comes, and knife maker hits you up, and like, hey man, you're up, you got a spot. What are you wanting? I I'm trying to think, and honestly, I haven't had a ton of book spots. I can think of four off the top of my head, but I think
Mhm.
most of the custom stuff I've had, I've won lottos at knife shows. But
Right.
the custom spots I've had, I've never I've never requested a certain. I might have requested a model, but I've never requested this material or this blade. I've kind of treated it like if you get a tattoo, you kind of might have an idea, but at the
Mhm.
end of the day, you kind of want the artist to do his
Yeah,
thing, because you're going to end up with something that they're feeling, and I think you're going to end up with a better product at the end of the day. So
absolutely.
I can totally see a knife maker, and I know knife makers personally that do operate like that. It's like no books, and it's just I kind of make what I want,
Yeah,
and I'll just kind of sell it how I want. But yeah, I could see that, because if you do that and you're just making the same thing over and over and over, it stops becoming fun then.
absolutely. Oh man. Okay, so really, I just kind of have two questions left, and then I'll close it out. But
Sure.
and I'm going to kind of combine these. But I wanted to ask: is there anything coming up, or anything you're working on now? I know you said you did some micarta recently, but I mean, is there anything unique or big or special coming up that you're working on that you want to share? Or anything that you're excited about specifically. Doesn't have, and that doesn't even have to be
Sure.
EDC. Obviously, you're stoked about those shoes that are coming out soon.
I wish I had a really awesome response to that,
Right.
but I don't. I will say this though. I will say this. So I did the micarta. I never really know what I'm gonna do until I like, and it's not like I ever plan like, hey, I'm gonna come like a week in advance. I'm gonna machine this weekend. A lot of times it's just kind of the middle of the week. It's coming through, and I'm like, I'm gonna come in here and do some stuff this weekend, and then
Sure.
I just kind of take inventory of what I have. One thing I do want to do more of, and I've talked with him about it, and I guess this kind of goes back to the collab stuff. They've never really been collabs. He's just made material for me. I've
Hmm.
bought it from him, and then so some people may know of him, some may not. He still has an Instagram, but he's not active at all. It's his Facebook group now. But John Phillips of Wisco Works.
Wisco
Um,
works. Shout
yeah,
out Glow
dude.
Fetty. Yeah.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Dude.
He's
That
awesome.
material, yes, hands down, and no BS. Like that material, and man, I've done so many materials over the years.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I've done stuff that doesn't even exist on knives, just to like try to do something different. Like I'll just Google like colored rods and try to find random stuff. But that glow fetty stuff he makes, I'm gonna I'm gonna say it's probably not probably it's my favorite material I've ever done.
Wow.
I just think that I've done a lot of composite and resin stuff in the
Yep.
past, and his stuff is on point. It machines good, and not only does it machine good, but it looks badass when
Oh
it's
yeah, it
done.
does.
And everybody loves stuff. Who doesn't love stuff that glows in the dark? You know
Shoot.
exactly. So it's that. So I've actually I reached out to him and was talking to him, and I expressed doing more. He was on board. So um, yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
waiting.
it seemed like he kind of popped. I know he's been around for a while.
Yeah,
I've known him for a minute back when he
Right.
was a little more active on Instagram,
Uh-huh.
and I knew the name Wisco Works before I knew his name. Um, and it seemed like he was kind of grinding it out, and then he just kind of popped, and now all of a sudden even old Wisco Works beads on the secondary are selling for $250. Like, he
Yes.
just out of nowhere just shot up, and I mean,
Yes.
well deserved. Mad credit to
Yes.
him, because he's been crushing it too. So
It's funny
um,
because I've gone in on some of his drops, and it's I think that's something too. A lot of people don't realize. Like, a lot of people do, but a lot of people don't. Like,
mhm.
I know the pain of trying to buy something that is limited quantity online
Yeah,
from a maker and
yeah.
taking the L. You know what I mean? And it's funny. John's done some drops, and like I had one where it was just like first 10 ins, and I was the first in. And it was funny because it was like
Oh my God, it's
that
rigged.
rush, dude. I was like, hell yeah. First comment, I got it. I was so
Yep.
pumped. But yeah, dude, John's killing it. So I say that's probably the thing I'm most looking forward to next. Just trying to get some more of his material. He's constantly raising the bar with that stuff. It's like I saw something he did. It was either today or yesterday called Copper Fetty. And I
Oh
don't know if it
wow,
actually has copper in it or not, but it looks like kind of copperish and
that
it
sounds awesome.
glows. But it's cool. What are you
Yeah.
looking forward to, man? What are you into right now?
Oh God, nobody asks me that. Jesus, out of left field, man. So I have spent a lot of time recently slimming down and really specifying the collection from a practical standpoint.
Sure.
We have a almost 4 month old and a 3 year old, but the 4 month old, like, so it's like babies are the focus right now.
Oh,
So like
yeah.
I'm trying not to spend as much,
Right.
but no, I mean, outside of that, like, I'm really excited about this. So obviously we're recording this. Today is August 20th. This isn't going to go up for a few weeks,
Right.
probably mid to late September. So right now, I'm really excited about this. I mean, this was
Yeah.
kind of like I don't know how much of my background you're aware of, but like before I did my current gig, I worked at an ad agency where I bought media for a client, on
Yes.
podcasts and radio and stuff like that. And so,
I'm going to interrupt you and say I've
no,
actually listened probably to more of your podcasts than I realized. When you did the first ones, like when your wife was on them with you,
yeah,
and I think you had just I think it's your current job still, but you were about 4 months into it, I think,
yep,
at the time.
yep,
I've actually
yeah.
listened to a
So
lot of your podcasts, believe it or not. So yeah,
yeah, so and honestly, I set out to do this show and really just kind of scratch my own, itch in talking to folks like you and hearing the cool stories behind how things came to be.
right,
um and it really set out to just like I just want to see if I can do it. Like, I just want to see if I can, check all the
sure,
boxes, and I could. It was doable. And so now, I've been able to book some guests. I'm lining up sponsors, and like, so it's becoming more of a, I wouldn't call it a side hustle, but I'm just excited to be able to sit down and chat with people and carve out time like this. So that's what I'm excited about, is doing more of these.
yeah. I think the interviews. I think it's always fun to hear interviews, especially when it's somebody that you follow, and sometimes you might know them, sometimes you. And I think a lot of times on through social media, you feel like you know somebody, even
Sure.
if you don't. And so I think it's always cool to listen to a podcast or an interview or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
and you can kind of get a little bit of a feel for the person better, their background.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, I think it'll be fun to hear some more of your interviews and listen to some folks and see where they come from and what their background is.
Absolutely. All right, John. I don't have anything else in my notes. I scratch them off as I go, and this is it for me.
Cool.
Anything else you want to talk about, or you want to share, or anything like that?
Nothing comes to mind, man. I do appreciate you having me on. This is honestly, this is the first like anything like this I've ever done.
That's exciting.
No one's ever asked me to do a podcast or anything like that. So yeah,
Well,
it
welcome
was cool to be
to the
to be
exciting world
on.
of
Yeah,
being an everyday carry celebrity.
not at
No.
all.
All right, man. Well, hey, listen, I cannot thank you enough. I look forward to editing this and posting it, and obviously sharing it and seeing what everybody thinks. And obviously, if people are interested and you're interested, we'll do it again. But
Sure, dude. Absolutely.
That's all I got, man. I'm gonna let you get back to your day, and
Cool.
I look forward to talking to you again soon.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on, Greg.
Thanks, John.
All right, man. Later.
Bye.